Hey, good morning, y'all. Mark Boswell here from Boswell Emergency Medical. I want to do a quick little video for you guys to walk you through some ways to study and prepare for this CEN exam. I get a lot of questions frequently on the email or on the Facebook about what do I recommend and what are some best ways to study for this exam. So, what about this exam do I need to do to study effectively? Well, really, the best thing is don't assume that you know anything. I know it might seem a little, straightforward, and I know, at this point in your career, you're probably thinking that you are comfortable with certain topics and certain concepts. However, what we found, and what other people have found in this business, is that a lot of times students think they know a certain topic area well, but come to find out they don't, and they may actually know areas well that they didn't think they did. So really the best way to objectively find out which areas you're already strong in and weak in is to take some type of official practice exam. Now the ENA has a practice exam that's online through the ENA Marketplace. If you go to ENA.org and look under Marketplace, you'll find study material for the CEN exam, and one of them is either an online exam, or one of them is the ENA CEN manual. That's the 4th edition, and it was revised last year. That's the big blue book, and inside there's 5 practice tests and 2 online tests that you can take. Now the BCEN, the board certification for emergency nursing, they have also some practice material there also. And what you'll actually do is go over to bcncertifications.org, and you'll look under the CEN section, and under study or review, you'll find some links to the testing company's website, and on that website they have some practice exams also. Either one is valid. The exam, although it's owned by the BCEN, the ENA is also intimately involved with this, and a lot of the people that write these practice exams are very closely involved with writing the actual exam questions. So, in my personal recommendation, these are the only 2 sources for valid practice exams that you can get, because it's written by the same people that author the exam themselves. There's many other companies out there, many other books, products, materials, videos, DVDs, but they're not the authentic practice tests put on by the ENA. And you have to be careful, because sometimes you may be taking a practice test or some practice questions, and it may actually be on content that's not even on the exam itself. And I've seen this many times with many different books out there. I'll see chapters or sections, or even on practice tests, that have material that's not part of the CEN blueprint, and you don't want to waste your time on that because you'll be testing the wrong things. So the first thing is to find a valid practice exam resource, whether it be an online version or in a book. And again, I recommend either the ENA CEN review manual, that's that big blue book. It's the 4th edition, 2011, and you can get that from the ENA website, or the practice exams, which you can either get from ENA.org or bcncertifications.org. Well, anyway, so you go to these authoritative practice exams or questions, and what you want to do is you want to replicate that testing scenario in your home, either using your computer if you're doing the online version, or if you're using that book, you'll want to try and clear your desk and have like a testing station set up. And you want to go through the whole exam just like you were really doing the true formal exam. You want to treat this very serious. You want to set yourself the 3-hour time limit, which is what you get during the normal exam. You can even go as far as to have some scratch paper and a pencil and a simple calculator. These are things that you'll have access to during the real exam as well. You'll want to clear any distractions away from the area. If you have children around the house, you want to do it during a time when they're not around or they're not having a lot of needs. Or if there's other loud noises or distractions, you'll want it as close to the actual testing situation as you can replicate. And you'll want to go ahead and take the test then. Now, based upon the grade you get, whether it be the online or the book version, you'll want to look at what scores you got in each section of that test, and it will break it down for you, whether it be cardiovascular, psychosocial, respiratory, etc. And you'll see what percentage you get in each section. Now, overall, the passing score for the CEN exam is 70%. So what I use as a benchmark is if you get 75% or better in a certain section on one of these practice tests, you can feel fairly confident that you should be able to replicate that cognitive knowledge demonstration during the real exam. And the only variable should be the environment your emotions, any other things that may be going on that day. But 75% or better, I firmly believe, and I recommend that you've got that content area pretty much secured. The more important thing to do is look at which areas you did less than 75%, and the ones that you did, pick your 3 lowest sections and look at what percentage you got on those sections. These are going to become the areas you want to focus on primarily to boost your score, with one caveat. If one of those lowest 3 sections are the smaller sections, like the psychosocial, the professional issues, those are smaller sections on the exam, I wouldn't worry about them too much. Let me explain. If there's only 6 questions from psychosocial on the exam, I'm not sure right now off the top of my head if there's 6 or 8. Let's say if there's 8 questions from psychosocial on the exam, and you only scored a 50% on the practice exam for the psychosocial section. That means you only got 4 out of those 8 possible questions right. So let's say you went back and studied your brains out on psychosocial, and you went back and on the test you scored 100% in the psychosocial section. Great, you've now received 8 out of 8 questions correct. You've only boosted your total score on the total exam 4 points by that time. So you spent a lot of time studying and you got that section right, but you only gained 4 points. Now let's look at a bigger section like neurological emergencies, which has, I believe, 18 questions. Let's round it up to 20 just for argument's sake. Say you took the practice exam and you scored 50% on neurological emergencies. That means you got 10 out of the 20 questions correct. Now, if you went, and that's 10 points off your total exam, okay? If you went and studied like crazy on that neuro section, and let's say you couldn't even get 100% on the exam in that section, but let's say you got 90%. What's 90% out of 20? Well, that would be 10, that'd be 18 questions, all right? You would have boosted your score by 8 points, okay? That's twice as many points you got out of the psychosocial. Remember the psychosocial, if you got the perfect score, you would have gotten 4 extra points. You would have gotten 8 out of 8. On neuro, even if you only got 90% right after studying, you would have boosted your score from 10 to 18, which is worth more on the test. So following that logic, go back on the test report, on your practice test, look at those 3 lowest sections, okay? And what you need to do is, again, throw out, if it's one of the lower scoring sections, like, again, psychosocial or professional issues are 2 of the lowest ones. Look and see if any of those 3 of your lowest sections are the big point sections. Neuro, cardiac, respiratory, general medical. Those are the big 4. If any of your lowest 3 are one of those 4, you must spend time doing a focus review just on that content area, because that's going to get you the most bang for your buck. All right. Now, after you've looked at those 3 lowest ones, then I want you to scan your whole score report and find out where the other ones of those big 4 are located: general medical, neuro, respiratory, cardiac. All right. If any of them are just below 75% or really close to it, you want to make that section your second priority to study and review. What we're talking about here is trying to find those areas that if you spend time focused studying, you'll get the most bang for your buck with small amounts of improvement, okay? Those sections that have such few points aren't really worth the time, in my opinion. You need to have a good firm handhold on those 4 big sections: cardiac, respiratory, neuro, and general medical, okay? Now, so you've looked at your score report after a practice test, you've found the areas that you were weaker in, you've identified the big point areas, and you've spent time focused only on those sections to review. You've done some extra review, either through a review book, some videos, some flashcards, but you've focused only on those areas. Now you want to go back and take another practice exam. This is a drawback if you're doing the online exams, because I believe it's $75 for each practice exam, so it can get a little expensive. I lean more towards advocating for that big blue ENA review book, because you've got actually five exams in the book and a code for 2 more online. So you've got 7 opportunities to retest yourself. So you did your focus studying, go back, do a completely different practice exam. Don't do the same one again. You'll really find if the numbers are valid. In other words, you'll be validating your score if you get the same score or better each time on a different exam. So take a practice exam again, see how you do. Again, don't spend time reading rationales yet, just score it, see how you do, compare your scores from the first attempt to the second one. Did they go up in the areas you spent the time focused studying on? Did any of them go down dramatically? And I'm talking by 10 points or more. All right. If your scores did not come up in any of those big 4 areas that may have been less than 75%, I would say you need to go back one more time and do some more focused study on those. If you also noticed that any section dropped by 10 points or more, percentage points that is, you need to add that section to your study plan. Okay, because that's not proving that scores were valid from one practice test to the other. All right, so that's the second go around. All right, you'll do your review, your focused reviewing. You're going to take a third test. I really believe this. You need to go through 3 testing evolutions to establish this, and that third test hopefully should confirm a pattern of improvement or scores being stable. Okay. Once you can consistently achieve, and you could do this more than that, but I say at least 3 times. First time to see your strengths and weaknesses. Second time to see if you studied effectively and to see if the scores are valid between the 2 tests. And the third time is a confirmatory test to show that your scores are steady and they are valid between all 3 exams. You could stop at this point if your scores are pretty good and you're pretty comfortable. Okay, remember the ENA cannot promise that perfect performance on a practice test guarantees perfect performance on the real exam. They just can't do that because there are other variables, like you may not see the same questions. Okay, but if you consistently get above 75%, you should do okay on the test. And at that point, it's just a matter of last-minute review, last-minute refreshment before you actually schedule your test. As part of your focused review, you'll want to go into those practice exams that you've already done and pull out those questions and look at the rationales then. But don't make that part of grading it. Grade the tests first, then go use the rationales or your other study resources to help you focus on those. That's basically what I recommend as far as books to use. Because we're talking about focused studying, what you need to do is find review books that actually break the content area down. You'll want to find a book that has just a dedicated cardiac section, a book that has just a dedicated respiratory section. You don't want a book that has these all mixed together. Because remember, you want to break out the areas that you're weakest in and the areas that you can get the most bang for your buck to elevate your score. Okay? That's mostly it for how to study for the test. So you need a couple resources. You need some practice exams, and you need some study material on the side there. In another video or another essay or weblog, I'll probably talk more about actual study methods, but that's the main thing there to boost your score, and that's probably the thing that everybody should do, at least to see where they're at and where they're ready. Okay, I hope you find this helpful. As you know, I pride myself on being available and reachable by anybody who's a former student or anybody that uses any of my media, the videos or the classes. You're always welcome to email me, get in touch. I do have a lot of former students, so I work with a lot of them to help get them ready to test or to improve their scores if they weren't so successful the first time. So I may not be able to get back to you immediately, but I do promise I try to answer every email that comes my way. And remember, you got access to those videos on YouTube where I've actually recorded some of the in-class presentations, and you can follow through them with my course book that I wrote, and you can write comments and such. And remember, follow me on Facebook on my business page. I put up stuff frequently there about CEN things, in addition to EMS topics and aeromedical transport and things like that. I put practice questions on Facebook often, so you get more free practice questions that way, and you can build a database of your own questions and answers. So I hope to hear from you, and let me know if this has been helpful to you or not. Let me know if there's any suggestions. Let me know what you found works for you. I learned from students, I learned from test takers what works and what doesn't. That's how I help to build this service for everybody, is basically pulling together everything I've learned over the last several years, over my several test taking experiences, and then what you tell me as well too, and I try and synthesize it all together. So I'm going to sign off for now. I hope this has been useful. I'd like to hear from you, and good luck in your studying, good luck on your exam.